New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast.
Good evening, and now the good news. Here we are, Friday, just before Christmas. I'm sure everybody's getting very excited about the holidays coming up. Whatever holidays that you celebrate, I truly wish you a very happy holiday season. And now we have a great little Christmas story to start us off. A Christmas miracle for 6-year-old with leukemia who's now thriving after T-cell therapy instead of chemo. Yes, look at that beautiful girl. Christmas 2025 is better and brighter for one family whose daughter is on the mend from a previously untreatable form of childhood cancer. Christmas 2024 saw then 5-year-old Bryn Alinger isolated in a child cancer ward, having been diagnosed with precursor B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which harbored a rare and aggressive mutation that rendered standard chemotherapies and surgeries ineffective. You think the worst immediately, said her father. I don't know if I was going to have a daughter by the end of the year. That would be a very hard thing for anyone to look at. Well, Bryn's care team from the Roswell Park O'Shea Children's Pediatric Cancer and Blood Disorders Program then presented the family with the option of CAR T-cell cancer therapy. Leukemia may have cost Bryn one Christmas, but thanks to this program, she gained many, many more. I look at her and I see a miracle, says Megan Higman, MD, a pediatric oncologist at Roswell Park, specializing in blood cancers. That's because this kid 5 years ago wouldn't have been alive. And now she's alive and thriving and just wow. And I'll say wow also. What a beautiful thing to, have your child around. I have 4 children, 3 grandchildren. I'll tell you, wanting them to be healthy and happy. And it's not always the case, but we're so grateful for this therapy. So that's where we start tonight. Well, here, let's move along to a little grandma stuff. A grandma stand. I love this. A volunteer team of grandmas dispense street-side wisdom to those who need a considerate ear. And isn't it nice to have somebody to talk to once in a while who will just listen and maybe offer a little bit of sage advice? Yeah. From Canada's As It Happens comes a story by way of Texas of a grandma stand where volunteer elders offer to lend an ear to anyone beset by troubles. Anyone can walk by the purple lemonade stand and sit down across from a real grandma to chit-chat, ask advice, or just vent a little to someone who's seen it all. The idea was dreamt up by the New York City reporter Mike Matthews, who recommended a female co-worker call his grandmother for a talk. The co-worker, whom he described as a guarded Brooklyn hipster, admitted it was the weirdest thing that anyone's ever said to her. Nevertheless, she called Matthew's grandmother, 95-year-old Eileen Wilkinson, and was so impacted by the connection after separating with her boyfriend of 5 years that the two had chats every week for years. How beautiful is that? The difference that Wilkinson's empathy and years of wisdom made for Matthew's coworker gave him the idea of opening a grandma stand on the streets of Brooklyn. His nan lived in Washington, so he left a cheap laptop with a video chat open and wrote a sign on the box that said anyone who needed a bit of company could sit down and talk. How lovely is that? We have such amazing creative people around us, and I'm just always so delighted when I see something like this come up. This is beautiful. All right, well, let's keep going on the theme of good people doing good works. This little boy got one toy for Christmas as a child, and now he's giving away hundreds. Yes, a simple childhood gift from decades ago is now bringing joy to hundreds of children this holiday season in Texas. In Vernon, the United Samaritan Services of Vernon recently hosted its annual toy drive, an event designed to make Christmas a little brighter for families in need. Now, in its second year, the toy drive welcomed children to meet Santa and the Grinch, who choose from more than 400 toys and pick either a cozy blanket or a stuffed animal to take home. The heart behind the event traces back to the 1980s and a moment that left a lasting mark on one little boy. At just 2 years old, he received a single Christmas present, a plush dog from the Salvation Army. He named the toy Rambo, and it quickly became his constant companion. At the time, a single mother was doing everything she could to make ends meet, leaving little room for holiday gifts. Been there, I know what that one's like. Well, that one small act of kindness meant everything. Decades later, the toy is still by his side. That child grew up to become Jeff Stewart, the organizer of the USSV toy drive. Stewart says his experience taught him how powerful even one gift can be. He still remembers how much that toy meant to him and hopes to create similar memories for today's children. He says, "This is the only toy I got that year for Christmas. I'm 42 years old and I still got him. He went everywhere with me and he was my best friend. It can change a lot for a gift, for a kid, one gift. And it don't have to be too much. It was a used stuffed animal that I got." Wow. You never know what your impact will be on someone. You can turn around and wish them, give them a smile when you pass them. You can do some little act of kindness, but it's amazing how those acts tend to last the longest. Well, we're going to take a short little commercial break here now, and then we'll be back with a whole lot more good news here on the New Thought Media Network. Don't go away, more to come. So these women, these women came up with a plan to create, good space for tigers. Now, here's the interesting thing. Their husbands were killed by tigers, and now they are restoring the big cat's threatened habitat. Wow, talk about selfless. They are called Swami Kejos, translated to husband eaters. In reality, it's just a superstition, as it was the tigers of the Sundarbans forest that ate these husbands, not the women. This unique region of eastern India, western Bangladesh, contains the world's largest mangrove forest, and the 200 or so Bengal tigers that live there inhabit a watery world that they thrive in, consuming a diet of fish and crabs while swimming several miles at a time in search of prey. The translation above was provided by CNN by the environmentalist and editor Arun Krishnamurthy, who reported on the extraordinary story of how these tiger widows had teamed up with young conservationists to help protect and restore the mangrove swamps and inadvertently the tigers who widowed them. The women are working towards a cause that has disrupted their own life. It's about restoring dignity and building resilience for these women and for the broader community. It is not known how many tiger widows there are in this region where villagers make much of their subsistence livelihoods through fishing the deep mangroves. But what is known is that this massive ecosystem enshrined as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site is in danger. Mangrove forests play crucial roles in the stability of coastal ecosystems. The network of aerial roots help dampen storm surges, and they take up salt in their tissues that allow for a brackish water quality that's permissible to both freshwater and saltwater fish. Deforestation, however, has the effect of taking bricks out of a wall. It's compromising this great swampy wall's integrity. Fewer trees means increased saline, which means fewer fish. It also means the strength of monsoon winds and waves is absorbed by smaller root systems, increasing the potential for flooded cropland and destroyed villages. So these women are working on a project that helps them, but also is helping the entire ecosystem. The tigers are a side benefit of that as well, which is really, really beautiful. And I can understand how that might be a bit difficult. Well, moving right along to another big animal, one of the biggest in the world, I think. And this polar bear adopts a cub that isn't her own. It's extraordinary behavior and something that I guess is not often seen. A wild female polar bear was recently filmed with a cub that's not hers, a notably rare behavior that's been determined to be an adoption. It was filmed during the annual polar bear migration along Canada's western Hudson Bay in Manitoba. There's a reason why red in tooth and claw has been used to describe the natural world ever since society began attempting to establish laws as a means to separate ourselves from it. It's because it's true. There are fewer places where this maxim clearer than in the world of bears, which engage in both infant, can't even pronounce the word, infanticide and cannibalism, but a softer side, reinforcing the strength of the animal's maternal instincts, was recently filmed and confirmed by scientists. Throughout over 45 years of tracking more than 4,600 individual polar bears in this western Hudson Bay subpopulation, this is the 13th known case of adoption. That's pretty rare. The mother, known as Bear X33991, oh, that's a nice name, was encountered by researchers in the spring of 2025 as she came out of her maternity den, and she only had one cub, which was tagged. When she was seen again in the fall, she had two cubs, one with a tag and one without. Genetic samples were taken from the adopted cub and are being analyzed to try and to identify its biological mother. There's more than one reason for polar bears to adopt other cubs, Richardson said in an email statement. In some previous adoption cases, he explained, biological mothers were known to still be alive, suggesting the cub wasn't an orphan, but rather the subject of switching litters. Well, the survival rate for any polar bear cub to adulthood is about 50%. Having a mother provides a much better chance for that adopted cub. In the western Hudson Bay population, 3 out of 13 adoption cases have survived to adulthood. So it really is a rare thing. And polar bears, well, they're important, again, to our ecosystem. And we need to treasure, well, we need to treasure everything on our planet. All of it is life. Okay, well, I think many of us have heard of Trash Panda. I mean, trashed panda. So this story is, yeah, well, they've raised $180,000 for an animal shelter for once they discovered this panda bear drunk in the bathroom. I mean, it's kind of funny, but also not very good for the animal. In early December, U.S. social media airwaves got drunk off the hilarity of a Virginia raccoon that was discovered unconscious in a bathroom after breaking into a Richmond liquor store on what can only be described as a Class A bender. Hanover County Animal Protection revealed the story on Facebook after one of their officers was called to the scene to escort the raccoon off the premises. Now, a fundraiser in honor of the event has raised over $180,000 for the shelter, known somewhat affectionately as Trash Pandas after their penchant for dumpster diving. It didn't take George Carlin to reason that the raccoon caught in a drunk stupor was a trashed panda. On Saturday morning, Officer Martin responded to an unusual call at the Ashland ABC store. Upon arrival, she discovered the suspect had broken in, ransacked several shelves, and then passed out in the bathroom. Animal Protection first wrote on Facebook on December 2nd, Officer Martin safely secured our masked bandit and transported him back to the shelter to sober up before questioning. After a few hours of sleep and zero signs of injury, he was safely released back to the wild, hopefully having learned that breaking and entering is not the answer. That story just cracks me up, I gotta say. All right. Well, here is a remarkable human being. This Amazon driver spotted lost cash outside a home, and his response went viral. A small act of honesty from an Amazon delivery driver in California is being celebrated as a reminder that kindness still shows up in everyday moments. And I'll tell you, this show, we are coming across a lot of that. Everywhere I look, I'm seeing more stories of kindness. Last week in Cottonwood, Amazon driver Connor Drake was making a routine delivery when he noticed something unusual on a customer's front lawn, a $20 bill. Instead of walking past it, Drake picked it up, carefully tucked it beneath the package he was delivering at the door. Later that day, the homeowners reviewed their doorbell footage and realized what had happened. They recognized the money as cash they had accidentally dropped while heading out earlier. Monica Louise shared the video on social media. If anyone sees this Amazon driver, please send him to contact me so I can thank him for personally picking up $20 I dropped on my driveway and putting it under my package. His honesty and integrity didn't go unnoticed. Wow, it didn't take long for the local community to recognize him. Louise got in touch with Amazon management, and Drake returned the next day for a special delivery. He was thanked for the honesty, and Drake has chosen to keep private. She said the gesture made far more than simply getting the money back. I just want to thank him for reminding me that people like him do exist. Yes, there are a lot of good people in our world. And I think sometimes we might forget that when we look at the evening news and we're hearing stories about all kinds of stuff going on. So this is a very sweet reminder. There's a lot of good in our world. Well, there's a woman searching for a guardian angel who saved her life during a park walk. I'll tell you, like I say, good people. A quiet walk in the park turned into a life-saving moment for Melinda Pereira. And now she's hoping to thank the stranger who stepped in when she needed it most. Pereira regularly visits Echo Lake Park in Virginia as a place to relax and recharge, often walking a few loops during her lunch break or on her way to work. But on November 5th, something didn't feel right. Just something felt off, she recalled. Shortly after, she lost consciousness. The next thing Pereira remembers is waking up in the hospital where doctors told her she had suffered cardiac arrest. First responders later explained that her life was saved thanks to the fast actions of a Good Samaritan who happened to be nearby. I was not breathing, no pulse, and unconscious. And some guardian angels started the first steps of life-saving measures, and that's why I'm here today. That guardian angel, Pereira was told, was a woman believed to be a nurse who immediately began CPR. Though Pereira never met her rescuer, doctors emphasized that the bystander's quick response was critical. They said if everything hadn't lined up the way it did, it would have been a different outcome. I have the sore ribs to prove CPR was done, and that effort is why I survived. Now recovering, Pereira has returned to the spot where life was saved, hoping to find the woman who helped her. More than anything, she just wants to say thank you. That's beautiful. So keep in mind, folks, anytime you see somebody struggling, or don't make an assumption about it. Take a moment, pause, and check, because it just might be the person that needs you the most at that moment. All right. Well, here we go. A little bit more interesting news. Cancer-fighting cells engineered inside the patient's body rather than laboratory for the first time. Yes, there's a lot of cancer research, and it's important because we do hear a lot about what's happening in the cancer world. Well, in a pair of groundbreaking studies, scientists replicated a time-consuming, laboratory-based cancer therapy within myeloma patients' own bodies. It's standardized such an advancement would allow such an advancement would allow for one of the most successful non-chemo cancer treatments to be done both faster and cheaper. CAR T-cell therapy, which we talked about earlier with the little girl, involves retrieving a patient's immune system component called a T cell and using a virus to genetically add the CAR, or, well, chimeric antigen receptor to it. This process is done in a lab, typically outside the hospital, where the patient isn't being treated before the cells are shipped back for transplant. The alteration allows T cells to home in on cancer cells directly by penetrating the biological stealth capabilities tumors have, but is also expensive and laborious. If scientists have considered in the last decade, the process could be done inside the body. It would save lives that are sometimes lost, waiting out the month or so long process it takes to alter the T cells in the lab. That's exactly what's been established in a pair of recent trials, the results of which were presented at the American Society of Hematology's annual meeting. In the team's first trial in July, 4 patients with multiple myeloma, a kind of blood cancer, had their T cells engineered in vivo with the CAR gene. They produced the altered cells which successfully attacked the tumors in their bone marrow. 2 of the patients seemed to be cured, with the cancer cells no longer detectable in their bone marrow, and a telltale circulating blood protein was absent from their bodies. 2 others didn't benefit to that extent, but appeared to be in remission after 5 months. The question is no longer, can you really do this? The question now is, can you reach the level of efficacy that's expected, and will the safety profile meet the target? Well, it's hard to say where this will all go, but it sounds to me like science is making some great progress. And I'll tell you, when it comes to cancer, that is truly exciting news for sure. Interestingly, the flu-like inflammation that some people had was mild in all 4 patients. I don't think you can say that about chemo. Anyway, really good news. A second trial is going on, and there'll be more to come, and I'm sure there might be a follow-up on this down the road a little bit. I'm sure hoping so. But that's great news for anybody who's got cancer. Well, here's something that really could be huge as we move along in our world and we begin to see what's happening with water, and how, some places don't really have enough of it. So there's a cutting edge facility that generates pure water and hydrogen fuel from seawater for mere pennies. Yeah. How great is that? Like, that's one of the most remarkable things, because you can't drink seawater. I think we all know that, but maybe we can. One might call the first 3 weeks of operations for a new state-of-the-art seawater desalination plant in coastal China a watershed moment for the industry. Long held back by fundamental difficulties in turning seawater into pure water, this new installation beats out previous flagship desalination plants in Saudi Arabia and California in terms of cost effectiveness, while adding a new valuable output: green hydrogen fuel. The plant is located in Rizhou, literally meaning sunshine. It's one of China's most renewably powered cities, one in which all urban water heaters are powered by solar panels. It was ranked by the UN as one of the most habitable cities in the world in 2009. According to South China Morning Post, reporting on the facility for a Hong Kong audience, for over 800 metric tons of seawater, the system delivers 118,877 gallons of pure fresh water, 192,000 standard cubic meters of green hydrogen fuel, and 350 metric tons of mineral-rich brine for marine chemical production. That hydrogen is enough to power 50 city buses for around 4,600 zero-emission miles of routes. That's a lot. The process of creating pure hydrogen fuel relies on electrolysis, which uses an electrical current to separate the oxygen atoms from the hydrogen atoms in water. If the process is done through renewable energy, then the result is green hydrogen. If it's powered by fossil fuels, it's referred to in the industry as gray hydrogen. This is not just about producing a canister of hydrogen, it opens up a new path for extracting energy from the sea. So, the usage of wastewater for hydrogen fuel is a focus of Chinese industrial policy, as not only does China boast extensive coastlines, but no shortage of industrial facilities along that coast, which can be leveraged to power electrolysis en masse. Wow. All right, well, now we're ready for our hero of the night. Well, we often hear what the police have done wrong. Well, here's a story about one police officer who's done something right. So, sometimes the smallest act of kindness leaves the biggest impact. While on duty in Syracuse, New York, Officer Pastorello noticed a woman struggling to carry a box of groceries as she walked through Thorndon Park in the bitter cold. He pulled over and asked a simple question: "Do you need a ride?" What he didn't know was that the woman wasn't just heading home. Overcome with emotion, she shared that she planned to stop at Oakwood Cemetery to visit her father, who passed away earlier this year, and her husband, who died 5 years ago. A lifelong Syracuse resident of more than 55 years, the walk was deeply personal and a difficult one, especially in freezing weather. The brief interaction turned into something far more meaningful than either of them expected. Before they went their separate ways, the woman asked Officer Pastorello if they could take a photo together so she could remember the moment forever. A small snapshot of compassion during a season that can be especially hard for those carrying grief. The Syracuse Police Department later shared the moment, calling it a powerful reminder of what a Christmas season is truly about. No sirens, no spotlight, just one officer noticing someone in need and choosing kindness. And at sometimes, that's exactly what someone needs most. Well, it's that time of year when we can shine a little light on kindness and a lot of hope, out in the world around us. So I invite you to really go into your heart and find something kind or sweet that you can do or say to another human being or even to another animal. They need our love as well. So I invite you to just be the best you this year and every day throughout the year. So thank you for watching. I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. And by the way, New Thought Media Network is a really remarkable organization. I invite you to go onto the website, New Thought Media, ntmedia.org, hit the donate link and send a little bit of money this way so that this network can continue to do the amazing, remarkable good work that we do every day of the year. And if you don't know, there is programming 7 days a week. There's a radio station. There's plenty of good right here. Don't go away and always come back. I'll see you next time. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye for now.